Okay, this is an introduction to WOW5. This puzzle ring is unique amongst puzzle rings. It's unique in its own right, as pretty much all of the rings that I've released are, in that it's never existed before and then it does, so there's a certain uniqueness attached to that. But this is unique in a whole different way, a way which was in fact awarded a prize at, there's this thing called the IPP, International Puzzle Party. Happens once a year in a different country each year. It kind of keeps rotating, and invite only, and all kinds of puzzle nuts get together and do whatever it is they do. One of the things they do is award prizes for that year's crop of puzzles, and this WOW5 was awarded a prize at not the IPP that's just gone in August, but the one from the year before in Japan. Its uniqueness was rewarded back then, and to demonstrate what I'm talking about, this is a standard puzzle ring, and here's WOW5. The special uniqueness I'm talking about is not related to the number of bands, of course, that's just a detail. The uniqueness can be revealed simply by me doing this. So, every puzzle ring that's ever existed up till now has this woven part and a non-woven part at the back. Non-woven part at the back makes it simple to create different sizes of rings from just one set of castings. For example, here is a couple of, I'll just use one. That is one of those middle kind of wavy bands, and you can see the difference in size. All of the rings of Holistic are produced by taking sets of castings, putting them together, cut a chunk out the back, bend the bands so that they touch meat again, solder that together, whack it on a mandrel and smack it around with a hammer and make sure it ends up nice and round, which means that every Holistic ring is going to have exactly the same pattern here, the same width, the same everything. The only thing different between a really large size and a small size is the amount of this back part that's been cut out. Not so this thing. Cannot resize this. For a start, there's no convenient place where you can just cut straight across all of the bands and then push them back together and solder them up. Such a place doesn't exist here, and even if it did, it wouldn't help you, because the way this thing comes together and comes apart is so finely tuned, if you like, that any change to the geometry of any of these bands is going to mean that it will no longer come apart. So what that means is this thing, unique as it is, has come into life only because of the advent of 3D printing. I can't imagine anyone having made such a thing before 3D modelling, 3D printing came onto the scene. So, yeah, something like this wasn't even possible until a few years ago. Bram Cohen, upon whose design this is based, played around with doing puzzle rings that where the pattern went the whole way around, but he never actually got off the drawing board with that. And it wasn't until Carl came onto the scene, Carl Hoff, who, with Bram's permission, took one of his patterns and tweaked it. Well, more than just tweaked it. And WOW5 is the result. And each of the sizes, this with 3D modelling, you can scale things. So, for example, these are all basically in a size 8 because I made them while I was experimenting and things. I thought, oh well, might as well have them in my size so I can wear them. The only difference between this one and that one, which difference isn't really, isn't really, let's see if I'll just put it so that if I can find, okay, so that little knob right there is that knob there, is that knob there. Now you can see that each of these, particularly, we'll take that one out, the biggest and the smallest, it's really obvious that this one's smaller. Not only is it narrower, but it's not as thick, and that's all been done just by scaling in different directions in the modelling. Then do a 3D print of pieces and make moulds and get it cast. Otherwise, the only way to produce these things is by 3D printing. So, scaling this way and that way and the other way. With this, there's going to be 3 designs, 3 variations. There's going to be chunky, which is going to be another millimetre wider than this one, the standard kind of size, and then the lightweight size, if you like. So this thing is going to be available in 3 different versions, and as I said, each size for this has to have its own set of masters, own set of moulds, so I'm going to be busy making moulds like crazy. And then it shall be released upon the world theoretically before Christmas. So, take it apart. Before I do that, this band and this one are identical. So in fact, that they both came out of the same mould. Those two are identical, the other three are different, and it's either of those two which has to be the first to move, and it kind of concertinas open like so. Once it's apart, good luck getting it back together if you don't know how, because so it actually forms, the pieces interlock just with the two alongside, and it forms like a bit of an actual circle, which in fact gave Carl another idea about making a design for a ring where when it came apart, this kind of hole through here was big enough that you could fit it over your wrist and have a combination ring / bracelet all in the one thing. There may be something like that appears eventually on the website. We shall see. For the time being, I've just got this guy, and if you know what you're doing, like I said, it's where are we? If you know what you're doing, it's really quite easy, and I'm not going to go into a detailed explanation of how to do it now. That will be for the assembly video when I finally release it. All I'll do for the moment is demonstrate that if you do know what you're doing, then getting this guy together is not going to take all that long. So there you go, the first puzzle ring in existence, where the pattern goes the whole way round, and as I'm making this video, the order has gone into Shapeways. Carl put the order in for me after he'd created all of the different sizes for this thing. So the masters are being processed by Shapeways, the 3D printing company that Carl works with. As we speak, that order is being processed, and before the end of October I shall, all things proceeding smoothly, have all of the masters I need to create those 3 different versions. So, something for you to look forward to. Except that I forgot to tell you something. Because all of these, all of the sizes are created by simply scaling the modelling up and down, what that means is a ring which on my finger in a size 8 looks like that. You know, see how that kind of fits my finger. It's fairly large. Well, if that ring is in a size 11, actually I'll use this other one. This is the heaviest one I've got at the moment in a size 8. So this is size 8, and this one, which admittedly is the modelling is a bit different. It's been made even chunkier than the chunky one I've got in mind. This is a size 11, and you can see that not only is the size bigger for sticking on your finger, but in fact it's bigger everywhere. It's been scaled up, the whole thing has been scaled up. So the point is that what looks quite solid on my finger, a little dinky finger, will continue to look solid even if it's on a really big finger, because the whole thing has been scaled up so that it gets proportionally, keeps getting bigger. The bigger the size, the more this thing weighs, the bigger it is all round. So something that looks solid, looks quite hefty on a small finger, will continue to look hefty even if it's on a really big finger, because it's a physically a lot bigger ring, because it's been scaled up. It's been scaled in all directions, which is a complete change from this guy, where even if the ring was really small versus really big, that woven part, the width of the bands, everything remains constant. With this thing, there is no constancy. Everything gets bigger proportionally as you go up, gets smaller proportionally as you go down, which makes it different from every other puzzle ring again. Okay, so that's it. I think I haven't forgotten anything this time.